Pacific Northwest brands from the northwestern states of the United States are well-regarded brands, objectively well-built, largely handmade and full of real leather and heritage components. But what if a P&W brand makes exactly that same boot in Leon, Mexico? G'day, welcome back to Bootlosophy, my channel about heritage boots. I'm working on Wajak country, Kalyakul Wajak Nungabuja. If we haven't met, my name is Tech. This is a pair of Drew's boots called their Contractor boot. As I film this video, they aren't on the Drew's website at the moment, but since they are intended to be restocked in the Northern Hemisphere spring, you may see them there by the time that I edit and put this video out. I want to thank the generosity of my viewer, Isaac Fletcher from New Zealand. Now, Isaac made contact with me on Instagram way back in June of 2024, and we passed a few messages. And I promised him then that whenever I visit, if I ever went to New Zealand again, that I would visit with him. Then in early 2025, a year ago, we went to Auckland. And I totally forgot about contacting Isaac, which was a shame since we'll probably not be there again for quite a long time. Isaac's boot journey is very similar to mine. He has been a project and change manager, and his interest in boots also started in 2020 during lockdown like me. Anyway, Isaac contacted me recently to see if I wanted to review a pair of these boots. He had bought them in 2024 and they were too small for him. And he offered to give them to me to review. So generous. You know, I really love my contacts with viewers, and it's probably appropriate here that I remind you to click on like and subscribe to help me and to get a dialogue going. Anyway, I said to him that I'd pay for the postage, and after reviewing them, I'd sell them and give the proceeds to a charity in his name, to Canteen. That's a charity that I support that itself supports kids affected by cancer, whether themselves or affected by a family member having cancer. Go look it up, canteen.org.au. So at the end of this video, I will tell you how you can buy these if you're interested, and the proceeds will go to Canteen in Isaac's name. Isaac bought these boots from Baker's Boots, and I'll leave website links to both Baker's and Drew's down below. Let me start just by running over the looks and design of these boots. The Contractor is a Pacific Northwest work boot style. For those who don't know, the Pacific Northwest, or P&W states of the US, Oregon and Washington state primarily, are renowned for making hard, durable work boots in the tradition of the P&W industries of logging, early 20th century pioneering construction going west, railroads and lineman work. Brands like White's, Nick's, Wesco, and the likes of JK's, Frank's and Drew's are all in the mix. This Contractor boot falls squarely in that P&W work boot style with a big round-toed toe box and a lightly sprung and bulbous toe, giving comfort when you're either kneeling or twisting around. It's basically the same design as their Logger series boots, but with shorter heights and a less aggressive outsole. This is 6 inches high in the shaft, but they also make a version that's about 8 inches tall. This does not have an aggressively tall heel, but even so is taller than a plain simple block heel service boot at over 1.5 inches, and it has a scalloped logger heel shape. As it's only 1.5 inches tall, the arch itself is not overly aggressive, but it is definitely more pronounced. The long heel counter cover that extends to over the quarter piece is another P&W signature. The overall design and aesthetics is ruggedly stylish. So much so that I think this begs to be worn with jeans, whether well-worn and faded work jeans, or at the smartest, a dark denim when you can wear this as a casual boot with flannels. Drew's Boots was founded in Oregon in 1918 by N.B. Drew. His early mission, if you like, was to target the sales of heavy-duty fire and western boots to the logging and firefighting camps throughout the Northwest states. In the 1980s, the brand gained fame in the Western rodeo circuit, as well as in logging and fire camps. During that era, its signature style was its custom buckaroo boots and handcrafted Western footwear, as well as work boots for outdoor laborers. In 2011, the brand was taken over by the Baker family, owners of Baker's Boots in Eugene, Oregon. They moved the center of operations from the founding place of Klamath Falls in Oregon to Eugene. Under the Baker family ownership, new technologies were developed like pre-molded insoles in order to reduce that break-in period. In the last few years, Drew's moved the construction of part of their lineup to Leon in Mexico to develop a more accessible price point for their customers. Today, their made in USA models sell for around US $600, while their Mexico-made lines, primarily their Logger and this Contractor series, sell for $350 to $400 US dollars. Since I've been involved in and been researching boots and boot brands, and while I've never bought from Baker's Boots myself, I have always heard that the service provided by them, and especially Carl Baker, has been exceptional. Now you guys can bear that out or not. Isaac told me that the sizing mistake that he made was down to his own hard-to-size feet if they weren't sized in person. But even so, Carl had been very generous in his time and efforts and was very helpful with Isaac's next pair. Isaac said that Carl might be one of the best boot fitters out there in terms of sizing. Let's go into the construction, and I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. The outsole is Vibram's 430 mini lug sole. It's a full slip sole, runs all the way back to the heel, and it's about 6 or 7 millimeters thick of rubber. The short lugs follow the common commando pattern with an inboard set of lugs that splay out with cross lugs in the middle. These give a good grip, but also keep sand and debris from being caught in the lugs and also being brought indoors, kept to a minimum. The heel is 4 stacks of veg tan leather lifts with the final bottom lift skived to create the right sort of angle for the boot to sit flat. On top of the leather lifts is the Vibram top lift, about 1.5 centimeters thick. As I said earlier, the heel is sanded with a concave curve to it like a logger heel. Above the Vibram outsole is a slab of 6 millimeter thick veg tan midsole running the length of the boot. Now, the boot is put together using the stitch down method of construction in the traditional P&W way. The uppers are lasted and then flared out and stitched down to the midsole. In this case, only the front half is the stitched down uppers, the back half being tucked in and nailed and glued. It's a double row stitch down with one stitch going all the way up to the heel and the other just stopping where the uppers leather stops. Looking at the edge where the flared out uppers are, you can see the thickness of the uppers as something between 3 and 4 millimeters thick in the uppers. Inside the boot is a veg tan insole, and on top of that is a leather comfort sock liner glued down, running from the heel to just after the arch at the front. The front of the boot is lined with a really nice calfskin leather, but the shaft itself is not. The uppers pattern consists of a plain toe vamp, 2 quarter pieces that run down to and tuck into the extended external heel counter cover, and at the back is a second piece of the backstay running up the shaft to form a pull loop. I'm not sure if it is, but the stitching at the back makes this feel almost padded. The uppers leather looks like, but is not, Horween's natural Chrome Excel. It has a strong leather smell similar to, but not quite as luscious as Chrome Excel. If you have a pair of Thursday boots in their chrome brown, it's a very similar smell. I believe it might be a Mexican tan product from the famous Lafargue tannery, and this is their version of Chrome Excel. The hand is not as waxy and oily as Chrome Excel, but it bloody runs close. At first glance, until I actually checked the specs, I actually thought this was natural Chrome Excel. You can see the tendency to roll rather than crease, And the grain texture on the surface of this leather is actually really beautiful. As its chassis, this boot has a leather shank, like a proper P&W boot. The heel counter itself is leather and the toe structure is leather. Put together in this way, it certainly feels as heavy and as solid as any P&W boot. And obviously when you pick this up, you feel that Drews took their Oregon specs to their partner factory in Leon and made sure that they made the boot exactly as it was made at home. This weighs nearly 1.1 kilograms per boot compared to my 8-inch Nix Overlanders at over 1.2 kilograms per boot. And that one has a thick Vibram Montagna sole. Apart from the uppers leather being local, I can't see or feel any cost cutting in materials or production standards. The stitching is excellent and potentially even more carefully finished than the P&W boot. As much as I love my White's MP boots and my Nix Overlander, it's quite clear the P&W brands just don't sand the edges like they do here. That the stitch down stitches are done with durability in mind, not aesthetics, whereas these actually look quite carefully done. The only distraction on these is perhaps the wheel marks from the stitcher that you can see as it presses against the leather when being stitched. The tongue's a different thinner leather in black. It's not fully gusseted like in my experience of other P&W boots, but it is semi-gusseted right up to the 4th eyelet. Isaac sent these to me with a black kiltie to protect the softer tongue. And to be honest, I'm not sure if they come with kilties originally because the images that I've seen don't seem to have them. These kilties, by the way, are actually upgraded from what Isaac sent. They're from my friend Dale at Dale's Leatherworks and are in a really thick black leather, easily about 3 millimeters thick. In hardware, they use solid brass hardware, 4 eyelets, 3 speed hooks, topped by a last eyelet to lock the laces in. This feels solid. The speed hooks look milled rather than bent over, but the backing is just like a pressed out style. And while it's done well, it isn't finished with a backing washer. I'm really impressed by the standard of manufacturing finish. If I didn't know, I'd swear this was made in Oregon just by picking it up. And I think that is a testimony to how you can take uncompromising, clear specifications to any factory in the world, insist they produce up to that spec, and end up with a product as well made as at home, but with the price differential of local labor and local property and infrastructure costs. Just quickly, for Leathercare, I would treat this like Chrome Excel. Make sure you keep it clean by brushing it often. If it's dirty, wipe it down with a damp rag. And if it gets really caked in dry dirt or grease or mud, a good saddle soaping should clean it up, but don't forget to condition it immediately after cleaning. As for conditioning, I'd condition this, depending on where, maybe 4 times a year. I think Venetian shoe cream would be fine, but as a work boot, I'd also consider using a heavier balm like Obernoff's Grease or R.M. Williams' Saddle and Leather Conditioner to give it an oilier soak at least once a year. Looking at this leather, I think that it's not as easy to scratch as Chrome Excel, and over time, it should patina beautifully. Perhaps not as beautifully as natural Chrome Excel, which can become this lovely mottled mid-brown. This is a lot more even, I think. When I run through how to buy this pair later, I will run through what Isaac and I have done to this leather. Now let's turn to sizing, fit, and comfort. In Drew's boots, the usual tip of taking a half size down is true. I measure US 8.5 in D width on the Brannock device, and this is a pair of 8D boots. The fit is actually perfect, and it's actually quite a roomy last, so there's no pinch spots, and there's plenty of volume for my feet. The round bulbous toe is very comfortable, especially if you're kneeling on the toes or squirming around. So this sizes like Truman boots, like most P&W boots, like Thursdays, Parkhurst and Grant Stone, half size down. In terms of the fit, as I said, it is a roomy last, which means that while the heel seems to fit quite snug, and I get no heel slip, there is a thumb and a bit in front of my toes to the tip of the boot, and while laced up, there's a lot of binding support around the ankle, but the instep and the ball of my feet are not tight at all. I would call it like a sensible work boot fit. And if you have smaller volume fit, there is enough room there, I think, to slip in a thin foam insole for a little more squish and to build up the volume. As for comfort, it's heavy, like any P&W boot, and you feel the leather layers in the various parts of the sole, as well as the solidness underfoot. Like all P&W boots I've reviewed, it feels like you stand on a solid raft while the supple leather is built around you. I have no doubt that with the leather and cork, it will grow to fit around your feet the more you wear it. But initially, in this very little worn state, it feels a little hard underneath. The arch is not as aggressive as the 55 arch used by Nix in their Robert boot that I had tried and didn't like. Although I did feel the benefit of that 55 arch, I just couldn't get used to the slope of the foot. Unlike a cowboy boot, the 55 seems to form like into a ledge. This is a modified 55 last, and it feels different. A little less high arch, this feels like a comfy Western style boot where you stand taller and feel the comfort of maintaining the best shape of your arch. I could get used to this, but I won't for the sake of charity. In terms of value, when available, they sold for around $350. If you feel the weight and you see the construction quality, you'd say this was made in Oregon. Taking advantage of local wages in Mexico and factory costs at US $350, this is a steal in my opinion, considering a similar P&W boot made in the P&W, probably for around the same specs, would be around $600 to $700. Even if you buy from Australia, adding shipping and GST, that would land at around 580 Aussie dollars. That compares to ordering a similar boot from Nix, say, landing at around 1100 Aussie. I honestly see nothing wrong with treating this as a genuine P&W made boot. And if you do, half the price is pretty good value. So if you want this boot, let me give you some details. I'm offering this pair for 350 Australian dollars, and I'm inclined not to accept offers since the proceeds are going to charity. I know it's not a new boot, but Isaac has worn them only 10 or 12 times since July of 2024. And I've had them on my feet at home for about a day to get to know how they fit and feel. So, worn somewhere around a dozen times, and as you can see, very light wear as well. Think about 50% of landed cost in Australia compared to new. I think that's a fair market price. They are size 8 in D width and will fit US 8D. In UK or Aussie sizes, 7.5 normally, or if you wear RM Williams size 8 and you feel comfortable without being too snug, this will fit you. Don't ask me to measure the inside or even my feet. Firstly, it's very inaccurate trying to push a tape measure inside. And secondly, my feet are different from yours, volume and width. But as I say, if you wear US 8D or UK 7.5 to 8, they will fit you. In terms of care, Isaac has conditioned them twice since July of 24, once with Venetian shoe cream and once with an RM Williams balm. I've given them a once-over, a brushing and a once-over with VSC, and then I've really brushed them up well, so they're really nice and shiny. I have also cleaned up the inside by giving them a good wipe with rubbing alcohol, just to clean them up if you're worried about smells and things. If you buy them, you'll also get this upgraded thick kiltie from Dale's Leatherworks. And it's done in the hidden style where the bottom is curved inward. So you tuck them in and it's great for you if you don't like that fringe effect you get on some other kilties. You know, to be honest, I don't think it's worth approaching me from the US or Europe. Postage from here to there is about 100 Aussie dollars to the US and about 70 Aussie dollars to Europe. Now, I think it's probably most economical if you buy from Australia or nearby Southeast Asia, like, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, or even from New Zealand. They are particularly suitable if you're an Aussie tradie that doesn't need safety toe shoes. For a plumber or electrician wearing Blundstones or the cheap nylon and PU boots, these would be a great upgrade. I've even had tradies come to my home, plumbers, and say, wearing thongs or canvas sneakers. So for those guys, this is for you. And tell you what, since it's for charity, if you're Australian, I will pay for the postage. So $350, a steal. If you're interested, contact me on Instagram or email me. My email is tech@techo.com. It's trailing along the bottom of the screen. Now, before I go, I thought I'd show you a bit about Canteen. While I talk, I'm going to show you some B-roll of their website. It's an Australian charity and it supports young people 12 to 25 impacted by cancer. It helps not only those diagnosed with cancer, undergoing treatment or in remission, but also young people affected by someone in their family who has cancer. They provide events and programs where young people can meet others in their situation and take support from being in it together. They provide counseling and online support, and through their various programs, they help teens through that time when they should be growing, loving life, and getting an education without the stress and fear from a cancer diagnosis. I'm probably not doing a good job explaining it, so go to their website from the link I've left below. So there you go. Not only a boot review of a great pair of PNW, not PNW boots, but also a chance for you to help a young person. I hope you liked this video, and I'd be so grateful if you showed your appreciation by clicking on like, and please, if you're not subscribed, I hope you will too. I'd be even more grateful if you want to buy this boot. Let's go out there and spread some boot cheer to people, including the kids in Canteen. Take care of yourselves out there. It's a kind of weird world at the moment. Be well. See you again soon.